Hello everybody. In the previous video we took a look at lights. In particular we looked at the lights that you can create from here, create light, and we looked at the directional, spot, and point lights, and we talked about their differences and how we can use them. Now in my current scene here, and this is the scene that I was working on in the previous video, I'm going to go to my Scenes tab here, Light, and what you'll notice is that I actually have three lights in here. I have a spotlight, a second spotlight, and a point light. I'm going to get rid of, so frequently when you're working with lighting, you're going to use multiple lights. You're not necessarily going to use just one light. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and get rid of this spotlight and this point light here so that we're limited to just this one light. I think the other thing I'm going to do is select the prop, the room that I had created. It's very large. I'm going to scale it down, make it smaller. And we'll zoom in on our character here. Okay. So we have a smaller room here, and we'll take a look at some things that we can do with the light. Now right now with this one single light, it doesn't look very nice. It looks very harsh, but we're going to fix that by taking a look at a couple different techniques. Now, one thing you'll remember is that when we were exploring lights in the previous video, I actually had you turn off the image-based lighting. And that is because it allowed us to more focus on just the effect that the lights that we create and put into our scenes, just the effect that that will have. But what we're going to do now is we're going to return to this visual tab here and go back to this first tab within the visual tab, this one here, that's for atmosphere. And I'm going to reactivate the image-based lighting. Now remember that what the image-based lighting does is it actually creates yet another source of light, a light that comes from an image that surrounds your scene. So if I check that on, you'll see that it's going to affect the light, and in fact it has given it a little bit of an improvement, I would say. Now remember that you can increase the strength of your image-based lighting. You can see that's simply this slider here. Generally you want to not increase it too much. Your image-based lighting, generally you're going to want to keep it fairly subtle. Notice that this is the image that we're currently using. It looks like a studio setup with two different sources of light. But you actually have some other images that you can also use for this image-based lighting. And you'll find that here with this folder. If I click on that folder, we've got a couple different, or we've got, it looks like in this case, 6 different options here that we can select from. And you can download additional ones as well. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of these other images that we can use for our image-based lighting. So I'll select this derelict warehouse and open it up. And now you'll notice it's changed the lighting in here. Again, we can tweak the effect it's having. And here's the image that we're actually using, this image of a abandoned warehouse. Let's try another image. I'll go once again to load, and maybe this time we'll try an outdoor scene such as this, or maybe this Kings Lynn Street. We'll try that. Open that one up. And you can see the image that we're getting the light from. Again, perhaps adjust slightly the strength of it till we get to the desired effect. Here we'll try one more. Once again, go to the folder there and perhaps try this scan room. Looks like a studio environment of some sort with a number of lights in here. I think we'll stick with that one for the time being. So we'll take a look at what we can do with this IBL lighting. I think I'm going to temporarily turn it off though. Actually, I want to take a look at my spotlight that we have in the scene. So I'm going to uncheck that. So we're in fact not using the IBL lighting. The light feels rather harsh. So I'm going to go to Scene, select my light, and I'm not sure at what point I set it to this range of 500, but what I'm going to do is bring that down considerably. Bring it down maybe to 100. And then we'll return to the visual tab here, and we'll turn on our activate IBL lighting. Perhaps that looks a little bit better. In fact, so that you can really see what the image-based lighting is doing, let's turn off our spotlight altogether. I'm going to go to Scene, and remember that this just hides and unhides the light, okay? But if you actually want to turn it off, you can click on this icon here. And now we're only using the image-based lighting in our scene. I'm going to go back to the visual. Remember that we can increase or decrease the strength of it. But there are other things that we can do with it as well. Now, so that you can actually see what I'm going to be doing here, I'm going to scrub down here a little bit, and what I'm going to do is select this checkbox here, Image, and what that will do is it'll show us the image in the background that we're using for this image-based lighting. Now, what we're going to do is come down here yet a little bit more, and here you'll see that you can in fact rotate your image-based lighting in your scene. Currently I have these values here. I'm not sure exactly what's going on there. I'm simply going to set them to 0 and 0. I think that's a little bit better as a starting point. And now we'll try rotating our image-based lighting so that we can really fine-tune and adjust where these lights are coming from based on this image that we have in the background. For instance, currently it looks like this is probably lighting the character from behind. Maybe we want to rotate that in a manner where we're getting the light coming from in front of her. So I'm going to go ahead and you'll see there's this rotate IBL, which is Shift I, or you can simply click on the button itself here. And then what we can do is use this manipulator and actually rotate the image around, which will change the way that it emits light. And perhaps I'll go with that. I'm going to go ahead and click on the Rotate IBL once more so that we're no longer adjusting the position of our IBL lighting. Another thing to notice here is that we've got this blur slider here, and we can further blur that image that's being used for the image-based lighting, or we can make it sharper. I'm going to maybe bring down the strength a little bit more here. I want my IBL lighting to be subtle. I'll go back to my scene, turn my light back on, perhaps select that light. I might make it a little less intense still. Perhaps something like that. But as you can see, there's going to be a lot of back and forth when you're working with lights, trying to really fine-tune lots of different parameters to get just the lighting effect that you desire. And now there's one more thing that we're going to take a look at when it comes to the lighting. I'm going to go back to my prop tab, I'm going to make my room visible again so that we have this room that the character's in. And we'll try a couple other things that we can do with lighting. So what I'm going to do this time is go to, once again, to my visual tab. We're going to look at this right here. This is the global illumination tab within the visual menu set here. So I'll change to my global illumination, and I'm going to activate global illumination. And it doesn't really look like much has happened yet. Let's play around a little bit with this bounce strength. I'm going to increase it. I can see change now. I don't think generally I'm going to want to increase it as much as I just did, but you can see the effect that it's having. Let's see what we can do with global illumination. And actually, I'm going to go ahead and go back to my atmosphere tab. I'm going to deactivate the IBL lighting so that you can better see this. And here's what we will do. We've got our room here. Let's select our spotlight. I'm going to, let's see, maybe I'll play around a little bit with the fall off or maybe the attenuation. Actually, those are not the properties I want to work with. Yeah, we'll increase the range here. I think earlier, actually, I did have a good range there. I actually was probably wanting to adjust the multiplier, not the intensity range, but that's fine. Okay, so now you're going to get a better idea, actually, of what is going on here. This is a little bit intense, but let's go back to the visual tab, back to the global illumination, and I'm going to turn it off. This is the default. Okay, remember, we only have one light in our scene right now, and we're not using our image-based lighting right now. This looks very harsh. This looks really bad. But if we turn on the global illumination, it actually looks kind of nice. It looks much better. Why is that, and what exactly is happening? Well, remember that what we did was activate the global illumination and then adjust the bounce strength. So what is happening is, while we only have one light in our scene, it is really simulating real light, just like light reacts in the real world. In other words, we have our light here, and it's bouncing off of the surfaces in our scene. It's bouncing off of these walls, and it's that bounced light, in fact, that is lighting the under part of her chin here. Notice we turn it off, it's not lit. This whole side of the face, in fact, is not lit. We turn on global illumination and we get that bounced light effect, which we can then fine tune. So let's do something else with this so that it's even clear what exactly is happening by turning on this global illumination here. I'm going to zoom out a little, and what I'm going to do is create a polygon primitive shape. We'll just make, for this example, a box. I'm going to take that box and I'm going to move it over here. Notice how it's actually affecting the light. That is because the light is bouncing off of that surface of this box here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take this box and make it a different color. So this is something I haven't shown you all how to do yet, but we've got this object here. It's selected. I'm going to go to my modify panel here, and I'm going to click on this third icon, this third tab here, which deals with my materials. And the property I'm going to change for this box here is the diffuse color. Let's make it something very saturated, very bright. We'll make it this red color. And I'll say OK. And notice what happened here. Now that we have this red surface that the light is bouncing off, we're getting this bounced light, and it is lighting up this side of our character's face. And because the surface is red, it's a bounced red light. Let's try a couple different colors with this diffuse color for the box here. I'll go ahead and select that. And we could try something like this blue here and say OK. And once again, we get that bounced light, but this time it is blue. So to conclude this video, I think that what you should get from all this, and from this video and from the previous video, is that you really have, with iClone, you have these digital lights, and you have a lot of different effects that you can accomplish with them, where you can simulate real lighting situations that you might have in a photography studio, for example. I'm going to go ahead and select my spotlight here, and I'm going to hide it so that we're not seeing those rays there. So that we're not seeing the cone of the light itself. And that's that. We'll take a look at a couple more lighting possibilities in the next video.